Cristina Antelo, qué placer tenerte en el Washington Post,
Mucho gusto.
En las oficinas del Tiempo Latino. We just inaugurated this headquarters. It's a pleasure to have you here. So let me see if I get it right. Your position is extremely long, and it says Interim President and CEO of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute.
You got it. Perfect.
So what does it mean for you?
For me, it's helping an organization that I have cared about deeply for years, that I'm a part of, I've been a part of for years. Through a transition period, our CEO stepped down, and we are in the search for our new CEO, and in the meantime we needed some leadership to kind of make sure that the ship stayed afloat and we were able to keep going. So I decided to help step up, and the Congresswoman asked me to, and I thought it was a great opportunity.
So is it a challenge for you? Is it an opportunity for you? You already have, as you mentioned, some attachment to the organization and good feelings towards the organization. How would you qualify this moment in your life?
Of course, it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge, and actually that's a lot of the reason of why I accepted it. It's an organization that I love, like I mentioned, but it's also an organization with a $10 million budget, 31 people headcount. We're responsible for an internship and fellowship program that is preeminent in Washington, D.C. and allows young Latinos the opportunity to kind of really set themselves up on a trajectory to be leaders for our country. And that's a lot of responsibility to bear, and that's why I really couldn't not let it have a leader for several months while we were searching for a new CEO.
And it's also a mission and a vision that is extremely needed in this country. I was talking recently to Mark Hugo Lopez from the Pew Research Center, talking about how Hispanics, Latinos in the United States cannot identify a leader. And that's a problem, especially in this political turmoil that we are into. You mentioned to me also before that you had close relationships with the fellows, and that is important for you, is where you see these young people growing under the umbrella of the organization. Is that right? That's
it, absolutely. And I think what it is that this fellowship coming to Washington opens their eyes for a lot of folks that would not otherwise have an opportunity to really discover and view the world in a way that hasn't been part of their lifestyles growing up. They get to come here, they learn, sure, not only about Washington and politics, but they learn for the first time a lot of times about finance, about the law, about all kinds of ways that the intersection that policy brings them all together. And making sure that they know that they can be a part of it, not just sitting on the sidelines and having it happen to them, but that they can take a role, they can be part of the leadership and the structure of how it goes forward. Again, in finance, in tech, in law, kind of around the way, that really gives them the opportunity to be part of that policy making. And hopefully one day in part of corporations and in other nonprofits and in other ways that they start to ascend in leadership positions in all of those different industries.
For full disclosure, where's my camera? That's my camera. For full disclosure, I have to say that I love the organization. Last year, El Tiempo Latino had the opportunity to be involved, 100% involved in covering the Hispanic Heritage Month event that they do. Is absolutely amazing. You see the politicians, you see the fellows, you see especially all these kids that go there that are doing their internships.
Last year they got to meet President Obama backstage at the gala. So I mean that's the exact kind of thing that, you don't just get that sitting at home, waiting for life to happen to you. If you take your life in your own hands and you take this opportunity, you get to come to Washington and you can be taking selfies with the president behind the scenes. Okay,
well, or with you.
Well, I don't know if I'm as exciting.
A selfie with the president of CHCI is always good. Let's talk about the Hispanic Heritage Month event that is really a staple in this city.
It is.
What's going on? Are we going to have surprises? Well, I don't know what's going to go in this election year, but are you already hands-on?
Absolutely. The planning for the next one always starts the day after the last one. So we have already begun the planning. What's part of it is also an annual legislative conference. So it's not just the gala, even though that's kind of the shiny and the cool thing. Everybody likes to put on their party dresses and go hear, the impressive lineup that we always get. But there's a legislative conference where, again, we get to have members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus really talk about policy that matters to Latinos and our Latino community throughout the country. And then that obviously all culminates then into the gala. We always, and I don't expect that this year would be any different, get at least one nominee for president in a presidential year, and I would imagine that that would probably be the case, if not both nominees, because they obviously know that the Latino population is one that they need to court.
I have a question and relates to the concept of Latino leadership and our references as a community in this country, as part of the country that we are. So it is about what is the difference between your organization, CHCI, and other Latino organizations out there providing internships, scholarships, whatnot?
So I think a lot of organizations provide scholarships, and I think that's where we kind of go above and beyond. We don't just provide scholarships. All of our programs, or most of our programs, are really geared towards developing leadership skills, and that can be through curriculum, and that's also through the fellowships and internships that we provide on the Hill. A lot of times, the average kid comes out of college and wants to go do an internship on the Hill. Well, they're unpaid, and there's not a lot of folks in the Latino communities whose families can afford to send them to come to Washington for 6 months to a year without pay, and just put them up while they go experience the world to be able to get enough experience on their resumes to be able to go to the next job. We provide them with an opportunity to have a paid internship so that they can be able to take care of themselves. We give them all kinds of stipends with their travel, with their apartments, etc. So we try to take care of their living expenses while they're here learning and garnering really a Class A network that they can then reference for the rest of their lives. And so they leave here with that kind of experience and that kind of network under their belts.
Well, Cristina Antelo, I'm going to make the last joke before I say goodbye to you, and thank you again for being here. And the last joke is that your last name, Antelo, is Gallego. It's like me, I'm sorry to tell you. But I do know that you are an attorney, that you are at Georgetown Law, that you are Cuban-Texan.
Yes.
Like Senator Cruz.
Not
I
like
know,
that, but yes, okay.
I understand your problems, but you are Cuban-Texan, yes, like my wife too. So it's a better reference maybe for you. And it's great to see Hispanic women in leadership positions. And I think that maybe you have the recipe for the reasons why we don't have more.
I will add one thing to the list of things on there, and it's a list that humbles me, but one thing I will add on there is also an experience in finance, working on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs, which there's not a lot of Latinos in the finance industry either. And really, if you don't understand how money works and how money makes the world work, then really you don't have a seat at the table. I mean, we can talk about policy, but a lot of decisions are made on corporate boards, especially on Wall Street. And I really want to make sure that Latinos know that they need to have an impact there too. And I think my understanding of the world and the role that I want to play in it now comes from having an understanding of law from my law degree, but it also comes from having an understanding from Goldman Sachs, from how the financial world works together. And then obviously my passion already for the Latino community and kind of finding the way that they all should marry together, I think is important for our community to be able to advance.
Cristina Antelo, muchas gracias por estar aquí, un placer, y seguiremos lo que haga el Instituto, CHCI, y lo que hagas tú al frente del Instituto.
Mil gracias por tenerme aquí.
Un placer.
Gracias.